Hey, it's Sparky, Fifer, 1250 AM The Fan, beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin, along with our guys, Phil Brylow, $2 Phil. Follow him on Twitter at Bruce City Bowling. Dwight Albrecht is here. You can follow him on Twitter at Dewey300. And special guest star this week is Kyle Troup. Follow him on Twitter at Kyle Troup PBA. Of course, check out his wonderful website, teamfishbowling.com as well. All he does is win titles and bring home the cheddar. And that is what Kyle Troup does. So, Kyle, let's first start off. Talk about a bowling cruise. That's a thing. I've never even been on a cruise ship before, so I can't wait to hear the details on this.
Man, it's super exciting. I've only been on one cruise. I was like 11 years old, and I love that. They had a little daycare on the boat and everything. So we've got the Jackpot Classic at Sea. Greg Olson, he is the Seattle Bowling Proprietors president up in that area, and I've worked with him a few times. And this event, pretty much like you said, it's going to be a bowling tournament on a cruise ship. We are partnering with Norwegian Cruise Lines. For a cruise, it's going to be from December 31st through January 7th. So it's going to be a perfect we've got a New Year's party on boat, or New Year's Eve party on boat, the bowling tournament as well. A little bit of info. So there is the doubles entry fee is $450. It is a small format since there is only 3 lanes on the boat. The teams will bowl 3 games of qualifying each. You'll be put on either Team Verity Crawley, Team Troup, or Team Amuleto Monticelli. I guess I should have led with that. We've got 3 pros that'll be on board throughout the whole week. There's so many things I've got listed here on my iPad. There is a doubles portion for people that are interested in actually bowling on the boat. We can drop all the links. I can give you all the links as well for that. But it's $450 for the doubles team entry. But then the other thing is, if you're just interested in coming on the cruise, hang out with myself, Verity, Amuleto, and a lot of good people, that's available as well. They do have a special going on until September 2nd. Part of that special is it's going to be $1,600 per person for a oceanside cabin with balcony. We have 5 ports included. Some of the ports: San Juan, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, Amber Cove in the Dominican Republic, Stirrup Cay in the Bahamas, and Tortola, British Virgin Islands. So those are 5 of the ports. With that discount, there is a 2-for-1 airfare that they're offering until September 2nd, and you'll save about $1,280 for a group of 2 in the room if you book that cruise by September 2nd. Complimentary breakfast, lunch, and dinner buffets. Obviously, everybody wants free drinks, unlimited drinks on board. And if you fall off, they'll even, send a lifeboat after you if you get a little too drunk. 2 nights of upgraded dinner packages. They've got a lot of good food on board as well. It's super fun. It's different. It's something that's never been done before. That's why when I was asked to be a part of it, I was down 100%, and I want to go on a cruise as an adult. So it's a lot of fun. I've met the people, some of the people that bowl the Jackpot Classic out in Nevada and Washington. The great group of people. I see a lot of them at the tour finals every year. So looking forward to seeing some of my friends I've met out west. They've already signed up and booked it. I believe there's less than 10 entries, 10 spots left in the doubles tournament.
Wow.
Obviously for the cruise, there's plenty of space on board for that. There is different price points. The $1,600 per person was for a oceanside cabin with balcony. Most people kind of prefer to have a balcony in case they get a little seasick. But super fun. Lots of fun things planned. They've got excursions as well if you'd like to book some of those. So we've got all the information. I can send you all the links for anyone interested in that. But Jackpot Classic on Facebook, Jackpot Classic Bowling Promotion. You can follow their page on Facebook as well. It's got all the info on there. And I've continued to post the links to the cruise and the bowling entry fee as well on my social media platforms.
Well, I got to ask, since you mentioned, being from the Northwest with Seattle, meeting this group and that type of thing, your most recent title with the PBA Tour Finals was at Angel of the Winds Casino near Seattle. Is your little stuffed buddy coming on the cruise with you for more luck during that tournament? I mean, that was kind of like the highlight for us. Is here's Kyle talking to a stuffed animal during the finals. What's a little bit more of the background on that stuffed animal you had?
Yeah, so Mr. K is actually my girlfriend's daughter. Her name is Aubrey. She gave me a lucky stuffed animal for that tournament, and it kind of worked out. It's unfortunate that we didn't have a tour rep there. Sean Ryan was supposed to come to that event. He had 2 days of flight cancellations, and so we were like, "Hey, we got this. Like, stay at home." So that was kind of the first show that I've ever bowled on staff with Storm without a rep there because the guys are always there throughout the week. So that was really just my own little. I was talking to him. I was looking at him. It was kind of like my rep, just to get thoughts out of my head, just to, motivate myself. It was pretty unique, and it just shows how kind of deep I was in my process. I had a lot of confidence going into that tournament. I've had a good amount of success there in previous years. I guess just the one previous year we bowled in there. But so that was special for me. Mr. K still goes with me quite often. He'll definitely be bringing in the new year with myself and Brianna because my girlfriend will be going on the cruise as well. So I guess that's why I wanted to do it too, to take her on a cruise for New Year's.
Well, I want to see Sean Ryan dressed up as Mr. K. Now that we gotta get a Mr. K costume or something to wear next time you're on TV. I'd love to see Sean in that. That'd be awesome.
He may need a
this
pay
whole
raise
cruise
for that,
thing.
but-
The first thing that goes through my mind, Kyle, is if you guys don't have quiet waters, are you anticipating being able to walk straight on the approach?
That's the unique part about it, and that's why some people have reached out and asked me about the tournament, and I'm like, hey, who knows what we're going to get now? Mind you, we're bowling on a boat. I don't know if we're going to have an oil machine on boat or not. So if there is no oil machine, then it'll be quite unique. We were saying bring 2 balls if you want. You may end up using house balls, and it'll be a house ball challenge. But the bowling tournament of it's going to be a lot of fun. But yes, I would imagine if we're in some rocky seas, the backup ball may come out. Whichever way the boat's leaning, I'm just going to throw my ball in that direction.
So who is like supplying the lanes? Who's supplying the bowling balls? Who's doing all that? Is that Storm backing you up, or who's doing that?
No, so Norwegian Cruise Lines actually has lanes on board on this ship that they use, that we're using, and that's why we couldn't rent out the lanes for the entire week, because it's a amenity of the cruise ship. But we have different time slots, a few hours. I think it's 2 different segments each day where we have the lanes. That's why it's only going to be 3 games of qualifying for the doubles entry. But then the bowling balls, people can bring them on. I would imagine they're just going to be your normal house ball equipment on boat. But yeah, that was the cool part, is the lanes are on board. They're in there, they're set. So that's just another unique feature. I just can't wait to see people bowl and then hit a wave or something and just watch the ball just go straight in the ball.
Well, that's what went
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to work. Obviously, I don't know anybody that's really bowled on a cruise ship before. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially we're bowling on a ship in the water. So I think people are just going to take the breaks that they get, and maybe the bad breaks. I bet we're going to see some pretty unique leaves bowling at sea.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about the tournament itself. Obviously, these are legit lanes to spec, 60 feet long. How many entries is this open to, and what's the prize fund for the bowlers being able to bowl this?
So I believe we have about 40 entries total in the doubles event. I believe there's less than 10 spots available now. Out of the 450, I do not know a prize fund. I would imagine it's going to be pretty hefty because that entry is not included in anything else in the cruise. So, after we cover lineage, I would imagine, and this I have not spoken to Greg for as far as exact prize fund, but I would say if you're entering for $450 and we're bowling 3 games each, there will be a cut to the top 10 teams for like the last day of bowling. But I would imagine you would be able to make a decent amount of money bowling in this. Will have a good payout. I mean, he's not just going to do one place top heavy. But as far as an exact prize fund, I do not have information on that. However, I would expect most of the money to be going into outside of lineage. There really isn't any more expenses going towards that doubles entry fee.
There's a lot of stuff going on in your personal life right now. You're moving to Louisville, you're moving in with Bree and the kids and getting all that together, but you got to get yourself together for the biggest event yet to come before the first of the year, PBA Elite League in Portland. Mm-hmm. working on the four-peat, what's the practice regimen been? What have you done talking to your teammates? You got a new teammate now with Graham Fa. What are you doing to get him to gel with the other four coming back from last year?
Yeah, it's been exciting. I haven't done a ton of bowling in the last month. Like you said, we're building a new house. I did get to bowl a couple regionals. I did see Graham Fa up in Coldwater, and I believe he led in in Minster, Ohio, and Coldwater. He led. So, I don't think we have to worry too much about Graham Fa meshing, getting his game ready. We were super excited to be able to get him. Our success in the past, we've had a lefty on our team every year. We feel like you almost have to have a lefty to win, unless you're the Dallas Strikers with Norm Duke and those guys. So we're super excited for that. I will be going to Sweden on Sunday, so I'm actually closing on the house on Friday, move some stuff in, and then fly to Sweden for 10 days to bowl the Storm Lucky Larson event. So, I will get some practice in there. Sharpen the tools up a little bit. I'm going to go drill some balls a little bit later today. Try and start hitting the lanes. I did have Team USA camp. I went Team USA camp, NASCAR race, appearance in LA, appearance in New York, and a wedding on Saturday last week, 2 days ago. So I've been moving all over the country in the last couple of weeks, but we're definitely going to hit the lane working a little bit more. I'm super excited for the league. We've got a lot of friends and family coming from around this area as well. It's going to be a party up in Bayside, but we're the champs. They make us throw 2 people back. We grab 2 more. And we still win, and I feel like a lot of that comes down to the communication of our team and the manager, Tim Mack. I mean, that's one of our secret pieces. I feel like that, continues to lead to success. We communicate, we hop on Zoom calls, discuss the draft. We're live together on the draft, making sure we get the right people we want. Everybody is all on the same page whenever we're drafting our players. So we take this pretty seriously, especially being the hometown team up in Portland, Maine. And we're the favorites, and I get to bowl the Strike Derby again, and I won that thing too. So looking forward to bowl the Strike Derby up in Bayside. It's just, I love that. Every time I even talk about it or think about going up there, I just smile and get so happy because people love bowling up there. It's the way bowling should be. I believe it's even quoted in the building, Bayside Bowl that way.
Hey, Kyle, obviously, you got in this thing, 2008, started full-time 2015, somewhere in that area. So you've been on this tour now for a while. You ever talk to some of these older guys about where this tour is now versus where it was? We used to do the bowling show for a decade.
Yeah.
And Fox kind of really, I think, put this thing over the top. And in fact, one of my buddies who used to work here in Milwaukee, then moved to Minneapolis, worked at Score North, Rami Makloff, was doing a show on Score North. This was a few years ago. You guys remember this?
Yep.
And Rami, not a bowling fan, doesn't watch it, made fun of us doing the bowling show, would come in with this fancy football show after, make fun of us. So put that in the back of your head. So there he is in the Score North studio doing the afternoon show with his 2 co-hosts. And on FS1, there you are bowling. He's like, who the heck is this dude? So he's watching. And they keep showing the replays in the afternoon. So they always see the replays during the week. So sure enough, he reaches out to me. He's like, who is this Kyle Troup dude? Where did he come from? So I'm texting him back and forth. He's like, dude, we got to get him on our show. And they eventually got you on their show at Score North of Minneapolis a few years ago because of FS1 showing replays, an afternoon show. None of them knew anything about the PBA tour, nothing about bowling, and got you. And then I hear you talking about what your schedule has been like, flying all over the country. This wasn't a thing for a lot of these guys. When we started our show back in whatever it was, 2007, 2008, whatever, it wasn't like this. The popularity of some of you guys has really taken off. Right. And I'm so happy for it.
Yeah. There's a few different things now, I've definitely had some conversations with like Norm Duke, Parker Bone, Walter Ray, some of those guys. And obviously, there's 2 different things. It's a little different now. We don't bowl 35 weeks out of the year. We don't bowl 48 games for a title every week. But then on the flip side of it, a lot of these legends have said, the exposure level is way more than it was in the past. The amount of money we're bowling for is increasing. I broke the earnings record in 2021 from Walter Ray, I believe, in 2008. So that just shows you how much money was available to be won. And then EJ, he was probably 20K from snapping my record this year. So that is the biggest thing. And personally, I feel like the biggest difference is signing with Fox. Whenever I first started on tour and, I won in 2015, we were on CBS Sports, but then we had ESPN at times. but we were almost like the redheaded stepchild of ESPN. And the biggest thing
Yep.
was, you know, or the PBA paid ESPN to be on TV, and Fox pays the PBA to be on TV. So right there, that just shows Fox has the belief in the PBA. They want to back us because we're going to make them money and they're going to make us more money. And the popularity, like you said, I mean, I get recognized quite often. Yeah, I do have an afro and stand out a little bit on TV, but it's all these replays, all the shows on FS1 in the evening. I mean, walking through airports, restaurants, whatever it may be. Hey, are you the bowler guy? Are you Kyle? Like, you know, and that just shows
Yep.
me people are watching bowling. Like, I was on Sports Center Nation, the top 10 or the not top 10. I was like all over the internet or all over the TV 5 years ago, and it was like nobody even really knew. And now it's like just a random clip at midnight on FS1. So that's the biggest thing. And the exposure leads to more sponsorships for a lot of the players. It helps us grow our individual brands a little bit more. It also helps show exposure to the companies we're sponsored by. And I think all this just leads to more money, more opportunity, more exposure. And I say it quite often. It's probably the best time to be a fan of professional bowling and want to be a professional bowler. The money's coming in, the exposure's there. We just signed another 2-year agreement with Fox. Looking forward to seeing some of the new exciting things they want to bring forth next year. Rumor has it the playoffs may be coming back. I did do a event with Fox last week. I was doing they had the Fox programming team had a bowling outing in LA, and I flew out there to do an appearance for them. And you know, it was neat to meet the team that's in charge of our scheduling, and you know, just the jobs that people have at Fox. Like one lady, she was in charge of commercials. That's all she does. Make sure the right commercials are on and they're in the right slots. And then another guy, he only messes with if the show runs over, and he's got to make sure that we get our broadcasts on the other networks. And it was just neat to see the team behind Fox that really supports the PBA. And couldn't be more blessed to be on Fox and, you know, have the great exposure that we have.
Yeah. You sound pretty happy with how the tournaments are scheduled now compared to what it was 30 years ago, where it was 35 weeks a year. Is that the case? Are you happy with not as many stops as you used to be, but you've got time for other things and less travel and all that other stuff?
Yeah, most definitely.
You want to see more events?
You know, I don't think, I mean, maybe more events if in the same time slot. Like I'm definitely cool with January through May. We've got some events in the summer, the PBA League in September, the Tour Finals, Sweden, you know, so there's some of those other events, but I do like having the last 6 months of the year to not be bowling full time. When I was younger, but yeah, I wanted to get out there 35 weeks a year. I'm like, man, Gup, I wish I could travel 50,000 miles a year in my car and bowl everywhere. But you know, I'm 32. I've been bowling in the PBA for 16 years, full time for about 7 or 8 now. You know, starting a family. Bree has 2 kids here, so I'm definitely okay with being able to spend a little more time at home. And also, you know, a lot of this spare time, I do coaching clinics, I do appearances, you know, youth league appearances. So it just allows me to grow my brand, give back to the sport as well. Because if I bowled 35 weeks out of the year, I don't think I'd be doing too much the other 17. But now it's like I bowl 17, we fill in another 15 weeks with work and business. And then, you know, we get 3-4 months off to kind of enjoy. But then it's right back to work for next year. So like I said, October is going to be fairly slow for me. November, December, I'm going to spend a little more time at home, practice, get ready for next year, because it was a decent year winning the Tour Finals, getting Hall of Fame eligible, second at the US Open. But outside of that, it was a fairly disappointing year. So got a little bit of work to do. Obviously, the urethane rules changing. Got a lot of new things coming up for next year. So all I can do is try and just make sure I'm sharp in all categories of my game and be ready for whatever new challenges that we may face.
Talking about unique centers like Portland, Maine, and Bayside, one of the cool things I got a chance to do with my daughter was see you and get our picture taken with you at Howler House last Easter in Milwaukee, the Tulane Center. What was your impression of that center? And did you wish you were Tommy Jones bowling against Belmo in that Tulane Center?
So I love that center. You know, we used to have a bowling center back home. It was called Mimosa Lanes in Morganton, North Carolina. It shut down probably about 6 years ago now, but they had manual scoring, wood lanes, like you had to write your score down, on the overhead projector. So, you know, it reminded me a little bit of that, but even more nostalgic and more, you know, older feel to it. You know, I was wanting to bowl there till I watched them start to bowl. And then I was very happy we had Tommy Jones as the captain, bowling on those lanes there for us, because that was a different challenge for sure.
You know, the other thing too, when we start talking about bowling and where it's at right now, and kind of going forward, is this whole thing with string pins.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, when these guys brought up to me string pins, I said, man, that's going to embarrass the PBA. Like the talking heads are just going to make fun of everything involving string pins to begin with. Then, because my kid plays travel baseball, I end up in Iowa and at a spare time bowling center that I've never even knew really existed before. And I throw a ball. I'm like, are those string pins that I heard so much about? So then we start bowling with them. And listen, right, this isn't the PBA tour. This is just a bowling center. And I was texting these guys because they were laughing that I randomly happened across this place. And the pins would just like fall down. Bloop, and then they get pulled back up. And then the pin would fall down. Bloop, and then they get pulled back up. And then they'd set right or whatever. So there were things that would be nuanced, or that would be bothersome, I guess, if I was watching on TV and just saw pins just fall from the sky essentially, and then get picked back up. Carry was probably a little bit different. Have you had any experience with these string pins yet, or talks about these string pins with anybody?
It's funny you bring up string pins. Actually, last Wednesday in LA, we bowled at a Bolero on Venice Boulevard out in Venice Beach, and they had string pins there. And, you know, before I talk about that, though, I experienced it about 3 years ago at the Weber Cup. And I thought it was an absolute joke, like absolute disaster. I never wanted to see him again. And then last year at Team USA camp, they asked the bowlers, because at the ITRC, the training center in Dallas, Texas, they're doing all the testing on the strings, and they made a lot of adjustments to it. They had changed the length of the string, the, you know, weight, all kinds of different adjustments that is above my pay grade. And they asked us to bowl on it for a little while. And I bowled there, and it was quite impressive. I wrapped the head pin around the 10 on a washout. I left a lot of 10 pins. You know, the time before, if you hit the pocket and you leave a 10 pin, you just got to wait, and then it'll fall because the string just wraps around it and pulls it down.
Right.
And, you know, once I seen these adjustments that have been made at USBC or at the ITRC, I was like, well, you know, I still don't ever think it needs to be in the PBA by any means, but it's not as bad of a, you know, disgrace to bowling maybe. Now, on the positive side of it, from a proprietor standpoint, you know, it's hard not to want to do string pins. You know, it's hard to get people to work nowadays. So, you know, you don't have to send somebody to mechanic school. I mean, honestly, you could teach Hobo Joe down the street how to untangle a knot for pins, because for the most part, that's the only maintenance really required by that, I would imagine. So it's very cost effective, doesn't require nowhere near the amount of maintenance for proprietors. So I can understand that part of it. But on the professional side, I don't ever want to see string pins. They did it at the World Cup 2 years ago. People were averaging 260. I mean, Sam Cooley won the gold, and he was like, yeah, this was not good. You know, hit the pocket, pins are just falling out of the sky, like you said. So it's got a place in bowling, but not in professional bowling.
Tom Clark announced at the Hall of Fame banquet this year that they're going to have a new veterans category for the players that didn't make it with the 10 title requirement or the 5 titles with 2 majors requirement. And one of the names that came up was your dad, Guppy. Make the case for your dad why he should be in the Hall of Fame, other than he's Guppy. Because that'd be my case.
I was going to say,
Guppy.
I mean, his name's
That's all
Guppy
you need.
Troup. So, whenever I heard that news, you know, I felt like, you know, because there is some guys in this sport that I feel like are deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, just because of what they did for the sport. Guppy didn't win 10 titles, but Guppy was an entertainer. He was a bowler of the bowlers. He was the fans' bowler. And I feel like, you know, obviously not being around in the 80s and 90s, you know, I feel like he probably brought a lot of attention to the sport. He gained a lot of fans for the sport of bowling. And I mean, you can't go anywhere in a bowling center without knowing who Guppy Troup is. You know, I would argue that maybe people would recognize Guppy Troup more than Walter Ray or some of those other guys, because sometimes those big bowling fans that aren't, locked into the sport 24/7. They know who Guppy Troup is back in the day, or they know who I am now. So they watch the sport. And, and he did win 8 titles. I think he did bowl very well. He's got 42 regionals, but it's not even about the winning for me. I feel like it's just what Guppy did for the sport, for the fans of bowling, and gave us a prime example of how to be a professional bowler and give back to the fans. Because without bowling or without fans, we don't have bowling. So the least we could do is give back to them, and that was something my father always said. And I'm hoping, someday. I know I need 3 more years in the PBA, 4 more years actually. So 2027. Be really cool if we get inducted together. That would be pretty sweet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so I've got a follow-up that I thought of while you were talking, because you said your dad bowled in the 80s. So did you go, Dad, I'll do this PBA thing and I'm good. I'm gonna get on tour. So what am I really in store for with Pete Weber here? Can you give me a little bit of a heads up? What am I going to have to deal with good old Pete?
Well, so I grew up running around on the regional tour a lot with Guppy. I went to a ton of the South regions. Pete Weber didn't bowl too much back then, but you got to remember, I grew up playing video games in the arcades with a lot of these guys. I remember Jason Couch made me cry playing NFL Blitz on the stand-up game somewhere in Florida. NBA Jam. I can
believe
those
that.
games. So I mean, I feel like I learned a lot. I knew a lot about the guys getting out there just because I was with Guppy a lot, whenever I was 12, 13, 14 years old, traveling to regionals. But it was definitely a different ball game. And the other thing, Guppy really didn't give me a ton of advice. He was like, all right, yeah, go out there, be yourself, and don't act like an ass. Like, quit showing your butt. Like, you got to lose the attitude. So that was the biggest thing. But, I feel like I did learn a lot just being around, Tommy Jones. I mean, he babysat me several times when I was a kid. Norm Duke, Jason Hurd, some of those other guys from Florida back in the day. But, I had a lot of babysitters and maybe a lot of mentors, not even realizing it as a kid. So, whenever I got out on the tour, I was still nervous because obviously I'm dressed like my dad, just out here with an afro, wanting to just be a copy of my father, and then to actually start winning and earn my credibility on tour. That felt pretty good because I was definitely a little nervous at first, because I heard the comments, oh, here comes Guppy son, just trying to be like him, and yada, yada, yada. And so, there was some flack coming into the tour, but the guys made me feel pretty comfortable pretty quick. And I've always had a few guys really look out for me if I need it.
Speaking of Pete Weber, last week we had a segment on the show called "It's Good to Be Pete Weber," and we talked about Pete Weber and his Muggsy Jeans commercial. It's pretty funny, but Sparky made a comment that if there was one guy out there that brands himself the best, it's you, and of course Gup, and you guys were the most colorful guys on the tour. What's going on with your branding?
I'm waiting for Head and Shoulders to call, but I guess they got this guy, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is kind of the sponsor for them right now. So I guess I got to just kind of wait my turn. But my brand is evolving. It's still kind of a struggle. That's one of the struggles that a lot of the bowlers face, is getting outside sponsorships. The outside of the bowling industry sponsorships. But we're working at that. I have been blessed with Coolwick, building my merch brand, starting to just build a more, I wanted to update the website, kyletroup.com. I actually have a personal site as well now.
Nice.
But yeah, that part of the brand is still on the struggle a little bit, trying to find outside sponsorships, but I also don't really have a team behind me. That's another goal once I get moved into Kentucky, is to, kind of get a team behind me, somebody to kind of help with social media a little bit, or give me ideas and structure, possible agent, to help with some sponsorships as well. I did work with somebody in Hickory a couple years ago in 2021 when I won everything. And I don't even think he could find me a free dinner. So that didn't work out too well. But, it's part of the struggle of the guys. But, we're continuing to work at that. That's something that I need to learn a little bit more about. I'm big on just bowling, building my brand, social media, but there's still a lot more work that could be done as far as that goes. And, hopefully we can lead to bigger sponsorships and a better team moving forward.
Dude, it's good stuff. He is Kyle Troup. You can follow him on Twitter at Kyle Troup PBA. He's got his own website, teamfishbowling.com. Is that still rolling? Is that still a thing?
That's it. So Team Fish is honestly, I've kind of let that go to the wayside. It was a brand that Connor Pickford, myself, kind of started many years ago. And our lives kind of went different routes. My brand started blowing up. We had a great structure and idea, of branding the team with all the different team names. By all means, I still represent Team Fish and everything of that nature. But I've definitely switched a little more of my focus into building my own individual brand. Once I realized how hard it was to do that, I don't think I was built to help build 10 brands with a bunch of individuals, and a lot of us are still friends. And hell, at the end of the day, it was something we just started up. It was a bunch of buddies rooming on tour together, and hey, let's start a team up. And it did draw a different. I feel like in a sense we helped start the house and some of these other followings. Granted, we didn't have a YouTube channel, so props to Darren and Kyle and Brad. But I would say we were the first team or group of guys out on the PBA tour. And then so we may not still be swimming as a big school of fish, but at least we got it started for a lot of the players.
So Kyle Troup was essentially Beyonce of Team Fish Bowling.
Wow. Wow.
That's what we learned. That's what he just said, right? That's what it sounded like.
I still have my $2 gill.
Right.
Team Fish
$2
shirt,
bill.
so.
Yeah.
Hey, man, Kyle, thanks so much for coming on one last time here on the way out. Plug that cruise and where people can go ahead and get more information on that and sign up.
Yeah, Jackpot Classic at Sea. If you're interested, go to Jackpot Classic Bowling Promotion on Facebook. They have their page. It's going to be a cruise December 31st to January 7th. Myself, Verity Crawley, and Emiletto Monticelli will be a part of it. $450 for the doubles entry. The cruise special until September 2nd. You can get 2-for-1 airfare, save up to $1,300 discount. Upgraded dinner packages, unlimited drinks, 5 ports, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Dominican Republic, Bahamas, and the British Virgin Islands. Again, Jackpot Classic Bowling Promotion. You can check my page as well. Kyle Troup on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll be posting links for anybody interested in that. Looking forward to seeing you all on sea for the first bowling at sea. It's super exciting. And Norwegian Cruise Line has a great ship too. So looking forward to it. A lot of fun, and wanted to thank you guys for having me on the show to promote myself a little bit, and blessings to y'all for everything you do.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, man, thanks a lot for coming out. Really appreciate it. You have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Take care. There he is. You betcha. Take care. There he is, Kyle Troup. And of course, you can check out Kyle Troup on Twitter at Kyle Troup PBA as well. That'll do it for another edition of Spare Time Bowling Show. Have a good one, y'all. See you.